I can tell you the price of a bottle of champagne.
Winter's coming.
Well, I grew up in a Scotland where the decisions about our future are taken by the people who care most about Scotland, the people who live here.
A giant effigy of former UK Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson has been set alight during weekend bonfire night celebrations in England. On November 5th, people across Britain hold fireworks displays to mark the anniversary of Guy Fawkes's failed 1605 plot to blow up the British Parliament. The town of Edenbridge in Kent traditionally burns an effigy of a notorious figure and decided this year to go with the leading Brexit campaigner. Footage shows the 11-metre statue of Johnson holding a slice of cake with a Union Jack on it. By his feet were red buses, which during the Brexit campaign were used to show the inaccurate claim that the UK sent £350 million to the EU instead of funding the UK's National Health Service. Previous Edenbridge victims include former Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein, as well as US President Donald Trump.
And for me, Mr. President, I have to tell you, the only interesting thing about this motion is not the content of this motion, is the fact that finally, I should say, Mr. Farage and Mrs. Le Pen are now finally outing their hidden relationship. That is the most important thing about this motion. Their hidden relationship. That they follow, in fact, the same populist strategy, and that was the contrary what Mr. Farage said to his voters in Britain. And indeed, it's proof of the fact that UKIP is a hideous, racist, xenophobic, wait, it's not finished, I have not finished, an Islamophobic thing. And that are not my words, it are the words that are not my words, these are the words of the founder of UKIP, Mr. Alan Scott himself.
Mr. President, in this House we have just had one of the most serious accusations that could be levelled at anyone. We have had 24 members of this Parliament called racist. I cannot imagine much more serious that could be said. That is in direct breach of Rule 11, which states that members of this Parliament shall treat each other with respect in accordance with the principles laid down. When there is such a breach, Mr. President, under Rule 165 and Rule 166, you should call the member to order. You have not done so. Why not?
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. And I'm pleased that you're interested in those. I'm not surprised that you're interested in those rules. What Mr. Verhofstadt said was a quotation from the founder of UKIP in the description of the UKIP party by the founder of UKIP. I didn't hear Mr. Farage actually saying anything about this quote, but I can't get involved in. If you can quote what the founder of a party has said about that party in this House. A rule of order from Mr. Carber.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I pick up on what my colleague Mr. Arnott was saying, and I feel it is clear, irrespective of everybody's political views in this Parliament, that there was clear inference from what Mr Verhofstadt said. And I would ask you, Mr President, to look at those rules far closely. And there was a serious suggestion and a serious allegation, and perhaps Mr Verhofstadt would like to ask my colleague sitting next to me, Mr Bashir, is he anti-Islamic?
Let's carry on with the agenda. I'll now give the floor to Mr Wolfe on behalf of the EFDD.
Taken during a session of the Home Affairs Select Committee, when you were hearing from officials, also from the Immigration Minister, can you just explain what was going through your mind here and why?
It was the end of a sort of series of questions where we weren't getting answers and where the Home Office just seemed to be in a complete mess about arrangements that may need to be in place for just 5 months' time. And this is about what should happen if there is no deal for EU citizens, both those who are here already and where the government's rightly said they will have their rights respected and will be able to continue to stay and work, but also for people arriving for the first time, perhaps coming to work. And the government seemed to be saying that free movement would end straight away on day one, but also that there wouldn't be any checks on people arriving, but then maybe that there would be checks by employers, but then that they wouldn't be able to differentiate between checks on new arrivals and checks on people who've lived here for a long time. And it just got so muddled and seemed to be so full of contradictions that you thought we've only got 5 months to go. Surely the Home Office ought to be better prepared and ought to at least know what on earth it's going to be doing. And we still don't know the answer to a lot of those questions.
So who should be responsible? I mean, I think it was quite clear during the session that you were becoming frustrated with the Immigration Minister, Caroline Noakes. I mean, do you think she's the right person for the job?
I think, to be honest, there is a conflict here actually going on between the Home Office and Number 10. The sense that I've got, and from some of the reports and sort of clarifications since, is that Number 10 is still trying to maintain that free movement will end on day one if there is no deal. The Home Office, in practice, knows that they've got no new system that they would have in place, no changes that they could possibly implement in time. And I have the feeling that actually the Immigration Minister, a more junior minister, and the officials are a bit caught in the crossfire on that. They know that there's no sensible decisions being made, no proper planning being done, and that's why they were getting themselves into such a tangle. So I don't actually think it was their fault.
So you think they're effectively being hung out to dry by Number 10?
I do. I think a conflict between, Number 10 on the one hand, the Home Secretary on the other, and nobody actually making proper, clear decisions or being straight with us and being clear about what the consequences will be. And the reason this matters is, obviously, it's a big concern for EU citizens who are here, but there's a lot of other issues. For example, what are the security arrangements going to be? What are the security arrangements going to be at the border if we don't have shared information from the EU? What are the policing cooperation arrangements going to be? And we heard from senior police officers about the downgrade in security that we'll have, the inability to be able to arrest people who may have committed crimes in other countries if we don't have a proper deal in place and these proper arrangements in place.
I mean, it's pretty clear that you're alarmed, shall we say, at the prospect of no deal. As you say, 5 months to go. With that in mind, could you see yourself supporting a deal that Theresa May comes back with?
Well, I think clearly no deal is the worst situation for all of us. And a bad deal is better than no deal, but I don't think the country should be forced into accepting a bad deal simply because the Prime Minister and the Conservative Party
but if the alternative is no deal,
with an alternative,
then that may be the reality.
So that's why I think it's really important that the government is now preparing the option of being able to extend Article 50, because no deal we clearly cannot accept. It would be very damaging for our security. But a bad deal, something that's going to be bad for the country for the long term, we shouldn't be forced into that because we've run out of time because of the chaos and confusion. So I do think now there should be preparations made so that if the Prime Minister doesn't get a good deal before Christmas, we don't just get timed out, we don't just end up in a mess, and we do make proper, sensible plans now to extend Article 50 in those circumstances to make sure that we can get an arrangement that's in the best interests of the country.
What about the idea of a second referendum?
I don't think that should be the focus at the moment. I think the focus should be on the deal. I think the Labour Party has the right position, which is, look, what you've got to focus on is trying to get the right deal. Of course, you can't rule out things in this very chaotic...
But you'd prefer to see an extension
debate.
to Article 50.
But I think the right thing we should be focusing on is trying to get a good deal, but if that is not working out, extending Article 50 so that there's a chance to look at this again, to renegotiate and to properly get it right.
I mean, there are reports that Theresa May is close to agreeing a part of the withdrawal agreement, this idea that the whole of the UK could be kept in an effective customs union with the EU. Is that something you'd support?
I think being a customs union is really important. Personally, I think it should be a front stop, not just a back stop, because I think this is good for Yorkshire manufacturing. It's about manufacturing, jobs and trade.
But you must be pleased with the idea, even if it's a back stop.
So I hope that they have made progress to agree a customs union. I think that would be a step forward. But this only still seems to be about the withdrawal agreement and the temporary arrangements, not about the long-term plan. We need some clarity about what our arrangements and relationship will be for the future, so we're not going into this blind. And we also, I think, need some reassurance on these security issues. Nobody's talking about what the security arrangements will be. We've heard that even if there's a deal, we could still lose access to some of the really important criminal databases. Well, if that downgrades our security, we need answers for that as well. So I want to hear the Prime Minister talking about the security side, not just the trade side.
Now, I want to take you back to immigration, where we started the interview, because it does feel as if policy is somewhat chaotic, should we say, at the minute. We've had, of course, the Windrush allegations, the Windrush scandal that happened. We've also had the recent scandal of some people being forced to give DNA samples or asked to give DNA samples. Is it the Home Office that's not fit for purpose?
I think that's a really big question, and I am very worried, actually, about the state of the Home Office. I think we had the Alex Allen review that was published, or the executive summary that was published last week, which did raise questions about the advice that was given to Amber Rudd as former Home Secretary. But of course, there are also really responsibilities that ministers have to take about the state of the department as well. But I think overall, we've just had one set of mistakes after another from the Home Office. The reason this matters is because these are the kinds of decisions that have huge implications for people's lives and really devastating effects for people's lives when the Home Office gets things wrong. We're going to be hearing from the Home Secretary in a few weeks' time. We're also going to be hearing from the Permanent Secretary as well, the head official in the department, so we will be putting those questions to them.
I mean, do you think there is an argument, for example, that the Home Office should be split up and immigration should be moved to a different department? Is it too big? Personally,
I do think that is something that should be looked at, but it's not something we've discussed on the Home Affairs Select Committee, so it's not a committee view. But I think when you've got all of the issues around crime and policing, we concluded recently that there hasn't been enough Home Office leadership on crime and tackling crime, for example, and working with the police to support the police. And then you've got all of the issues around immigration as well. So you could look at different structures. But as I said, we've not addressed this as a committee, so we don't have recommendations to make at this point.
And I want to talk to you about something a little bit different, tax cuts. You, of course, voted in a very different way to your party's leadership about the tax cuts in the budget. Why did you do that, and what was your reasoning behind that? Well,
in April, there's a whole series of further cuts that are going to be made for some of the poorest families in the country. Cuts in the value of child benefit, value of the tax credits. And so you've got some of the poorest people in the country who are going to end up being hundreds of pounds worse off. And yet the Chancellor's announced this budget which gives big tax cuts to some of the richest people in the country, people on £100,000 a year who are going to get hundreds of pounds back in tax cuts at the same time as taking away hundreds of pounds from some of those on lowest income. And I just think that's wrong. And we've got rising child poverty, those in my constituency who are facing real hardship. And what we need is a plan that is fair.
And it's time for Britain to leave the European Union years. More than 50 senior business leaders have signed a letter asking for a new public vote on the final terms of Britain's exit from the European Union. Signatories include the chief executive of bookstore chain Waterstone, S. James Daunt, and the former boss of supermarket Sainsbury, Justin King. The letter will warn the Brexit proposals being discussed by Britain and the European Union will not deliver frictionless trade for Britain after its exit. Campaigners on both sides of the argument have stepped up their efforts in recent months as London and Brussels hope to agree a Brexit deal by the end of the year. And meanwhile, in Kent, England, a giant effigy of Boris Johnson, Britain's former Foreign Secretary and leading Brexiteer, has been burned during bonfire night celebrations. Now, Johnson was portrayed wearing shorts holding a blue EU cake. His effigy had two of the now infamous red buses used during campaigning before the 2016 Brexit referendum at his feet.
Celebrity guy this year. If you haven't seen him, make sure you come down. If you haven't got your tickets...
B. Tobacco products. Please. Order. Can I just say to honourable members need to listen to what's going to affect their constituents.
Well, opposition to the Chancellor's budget yesterday didn't just come from across the chamber, but also from above it. Women Against State Pension Inequality, or WASPI protesters, banged on the window of the public gallery and held up banners, while opposition MPs applauded below. They say almost 4 million women approaching retirement have been unfairly impacted by the raising of the state pension age in line with men. WASPI's fundraising manager, Christine Smith, told RT they weren't properly informed they'd lose out.
We are campaigning against the acceleration to the state pension age for women that began in 1995. While we don't disagree with equalisation of the state pension age with men, we are furious at the way that this was implemented because the British government didn't give us any formal notice for 14 years. Only in 2012 did women begin receive a formal letter to tell them their state pension age had been moved by 6 years, and many of these women were already 58 years old and their pension plans had already been made. Every single woman in this country has lost between £46,000 and £48,000. Now you times that by 3.9 million. That's a hell of a coup for the Treasury. In fact, we have George Osborne on video at a conference in America saying it's the easiest money he's ever made for the Treasury. So this government are not going to tell me that this has been done in the name of equality. This has been done in the name of austerity.
Mary Black. Thank you, Madam Deputy. Now, the Tories have a habit of announcing policies that are backed by arguments that in a sentence quite often can sound reasonable. However, the minute you scratch beneath the surface, you see that every policy is soaked in ideology and backed by mistruths that are unrecognisable in the real world. I want to give a few examples, the first being universal credit. We've had umpteen debates in this House explaining in great detail why universal credit is not fit for purpose. Even this month I've had constituents live off nothing but 70 quid. So the Chancellor has announced a boost to the work allowance as an answer to these problems, and he expects credit for it. But again, scratch beneath the surface and we find that this boost only reverses half of the cuts that were made in the 2015 budget. Now, the second example I want to give is the living wage, which Tories often say that the best way out of poverty is through work. And they preach that they introduced the living wage. They were the government that did it, and they arrogantly pat themselves on the back for raising it in this But again, scratch beneath the surface and we discover they've introduced nothing of the sort. They've slightly increased the minimum wage and it still doesn't meet the cost of living. And no amount of rebranding will make anyone forget that. Further to this, we see nothing in this budget to address the age discrimination that is entrenched in the minimum wage structure.
Well, Moral Fruit will give way.
Yes, I will.
Very grateful to Moral Fruit for giving way. So we'll see that in the budget that the government have managed to increase the minimum rate for apprentices to just £3.90 an hour. So given that that lot won't do anything in pay equality, they'll should support me and make sure that they devolve relevant legislation to Scotland so we can deliver a fair day's work and a fair day's pay.
Funnily enough, I couldn't agree more. And I have to say that as a 24-year-old, I would challenge anyone in here to justify why I should be paid less than anyone else in this place. Because if the law doesn't apply to me, why should it apply to anyone else out there? Now, my third example is the two-child cap. Now, this is the claim that really sticks in my craw, because if it was true that the Chancellor is supporting families, if that was true, he would not make women have to prove that they were raped in order to get benefits for their children. And I see that not many Tories are giving me eye contact at the minute. Over 73,000 households receiving less tax credits than before. And what is this government's response? And this is a quote: "People on welfare need to make decisions about the number of children they may or may not have." That statement is as barbaric as it is downright stupid. Nothing more ignorant, cruel and deliberate misconception to hide behind. I will not. Life does not happen like that. There is no telling how or when an individual circumstances will change, and this government knows that, and it's children that are paying the price. Now finally, I want to make mention of the very people I'm sure the Chancellor would love to forget. Those waspy women who refuse to disappear quietly. Now, I've noticed that any time we on these benches highlight problems like WASPI or universal credit, we are told to use our shiny new powers in the Scottish Parliament to fix it. Take universal credit for an example. The Scottish Government actually listened to the experts who said fortnightly payments would be much more flexible for claimants. We used the little influence we have to at least try to make this system slightly better for people. Actually, few people are aware that the Scottish Government actually has to pay Westminster for the luxury of trying to protect people from the very worst of these policies. So I'm afraid I will take no lectures from the Conservative Party or from the Labour Party, who fought tooth and nail to make sure that Scotland did not get the powers required to fix these problems. We were told that employment law and pensions were too important to be devolved, that we were better together. So don't dare turn around and say that Scottish people should fork out more money to plug holes in policies that they didn't vote for in the first place. Let's be clear, this budget delivers austerity and simply gives it a different name. If this is better together, then the Scotland I want to live in is and deserves better than this.
I have formally triggered Article 50 and begun the process through which the United Kingdom will leave the European Union. This will be a defining moment for our whole country as we begin to forge a new relationship with Europe and a new role for ourselves in the world.
It's going well. It's very, very well organised. What they do... Get me a ladder.
This blade has a dark past. It has shed much innocent blood. You're a fool for traveling alone so completely unprepared. You're lucky your blood's still flowing.
Thank you.
So, what brings you to the land of the gatekeepers?
I'm searching for someone.
Someone very dear. A kindred spirit.
A dragon.
A dangerous quest for a lone hunter.
I've been on for as long as I can remember. Hey, shh, we're almost done. Hey, sit still. Good night, Scales.
Get him, Scales! Come on, get him! Go! Scales? I have failed.
You've only failed to see. These are Dragonlands, Sintel. You are closer than you know.
Scales? Scales.
take my journey into night. Come be my shadow, walk at my side. And when you see all that I have seen, can you tell me love from pride? I have been waiting all this time for one to wake me, one to call mine. So when you're near, all that you hold dear, do you fear what you will find? As the dawn breaks through the night, I move on, forever longing for the home I found in your eyes. I will be listening for the drum to call me over, far away from my tender youth and the very truth, showing me what I've begun. As the dawn breaks through the night, I will walk forever longing for the home I found in your eyes. Your voice saw me through the night.
So let's start at the beginning of the nuclear age. That was founded by Einstein, of course, when he discovered E equals mc squared. Energy equals the mass of the atom by the speed of light squared. An incredibly profound revelation.
Was a hell of an explosion, and well, I guess that's all, sir. What's the matter? What's the matter with you, Weldon? Well, it just occurred to me, sir. There, but by the grace of God, went I.
And Einstein said, the splitting of the atom has changed everything save man's mode of thinking. Thus we drift towards unparalleled catastrophe.
During a series of meetings in Potsdam, Germany, the final doom of Japan is settled by the Big Three and their advisors. Delivering an ultimatum of unconditional surrender to the Nipponese warlords, the Japanese suffers the consequences. Swarms of B-29s and carrier task forces carry destruction to the Japanese homeland. These and the following scenes of the opening of the final assault on Japan were photographed by newsreel, Navy, and Signal Corps cameramen. The natural power of the universe is harnessed in the new atomic bomb. Its tremendous possibilities are explained in this chart. The mightiest, most destructive bombs yet produced, such as England's terrifying Grand Slam weighing 11 tons, are puny midgets compared with the new atomic wonder. One of the first to smash the atom was Dr. Ernest Lawrence of California, inventor of the cyclotron, the atom-smashing machine. With global war, the government stepped into the picture. General Groves, head of the project, teamed up with Vannevar Bush, government director of science and research, and with Dr. Richard Tolman, technological expert. Seeking for the best base material to carry the explosive atoms, hundreds of prospectors ranged the province of Alberta. Scientists made uncounted tests before deciding on uranium, which contained atoms easiest of all to crack. The results justified the tremendous efforts. The President reports on the startling developments that sealed Japan's fate.
We are now prepared to destroy more rapidly and completely every productive enterprise the Japanese have in any city. We shall destroy their docks, their factories, and their communications. Let there be no mistake. We shall completely destroy Japan's power to make war. It was to spare the Japanese people from utter destruction that the ultimatum of July the 26th was issued at Potsdam. Their leaders promptly rejected that ultimatum. If they do not now accept our terms, they may expect a rain of ruin from the air, the like of which has never been seen on this earth. Behind this air attack will follow sea and land forces in such numbers and power as they have not yet seen, and with the fighting skill of which they are already well aware.
The army had been told to spare 2 cities in Japan so that they could scientifically test the results of these bombs on human beings and cities. How's that for thinking? And what happened was, at 8:15 a.m., a single plane appeared overhead in Hiroshima, and a single parachute appeared from the plane, and the Japanese were pleased. They thought the plane had been shot down, and the pilot was escaping. Another parachute opened adjacent to the first, and a little boy was reaching up to catch a red dragonfly on his hand against the blue sky. And there was a blinding flash, and he disappeared. And so did tens of thousands of other human beings. About 100,000 people were killed with that bomb. The second bomb was exploded 3 days later, and some people who escaped Hiroshima migrated to the only Christian center in Japan, thinking that would never be bombed. And they arrived just 3 days later to Nagasaki to receive the second bomb. And a lot of the Japanese, when you go there, will say to you, well, we sort of understand the first bomb, but they say, why the second? The bomb dropped on Hiroshima was equivalent to about 13,000 tons of TNT. That's a small bomb, but let me describe how big that was. The maximum payloads the big planes carried during the Second World War was 4 tons of bombs. That's the most they could carry, 4 tons. So they exploded a bomb that was 13,000 tons in millionths of a second. The hydrogen bomb, some of them are 20 megatons. That's equivalent to 20 million tons of TNT in one bomb. That's 4 times the size of all the bombs dropped during the Second World War. One bomb. Now, they once made a 50 megaton bomb, which America blew up in the Pacific, in the South Pacific. And they got such a terrible shock, they never did that again. They could easily make a 100 megaton bomb. They're awfully easy to make. If you exploded that in space, increasing the diameter of destruction the higher up you go, you could wipe out 6 western states of the United States of America with one bomb. You are all children of the atomic age. You have grown up with this. You probably have nightmares sometimes about nuclear war. Some of you, when you were young, practiced drill in your schools, hiding under your desks in case a bomb dropped, putting bits of paper on your head to hide from the nuclear explosions, right? You remember those days? So today, America has 30 to 35,000 nuclear weapons. That's enough, they say, the Pentagon says, to overkill, which is a Pentagon word and not a medical term, overkill every Russian human being 40 times. Russia has 20,000 bombs. That's enough to overkill every American human being 20 times. So who's ahead or who's behind? If you think about this in medical terminology, how many times can you kill a human being? And they say, oh, Russia's ahead. You see? The mentality is about at a level of a 9-year-old boy.
I guess there are a couple of things I don't know about this airplane, sir. I'm glad to hear you admit it. That's the beginning of wisdom. Well, sir, how soon do I get a chance to knock one up and down? Soon enough.
The superpowers are like little boys playing in a sandbox, arguing about who has the biggest biceps, or bow and arrow, or truck, or whatever. So, okay, America has all these bombs and so does Russia. Now, what would a nuclear war mean medically, and what's the probability of such a situation occurring? Of course, it's not going to be a war, you realize that. A war means that you fight a war and you win, and you rebuild yourself up from the rubble. This is not a war, this is extermination. It's what you do to cockroaches, you exterminate them. So, the probability of such a war occurring is quite high. The Joint Chiefs of Staff predicted in 1975 before a Senate committee that there was a 50-50 chance of a nuclear war occurring by 1985. That estimate was verified by a Harvard-MIT study, 1985. You've been reading the papers recently. I'm sure that President Reagan's advisors are telling us that we have to prepare ourselves psychologically for a nuclear war. I'm not very sure how you do that. The other thing they're saying to us is that it is possible to fight and win a nuclear war. Have you not read that lately or seen that on the television? To fight and win a nuclear war? Also a lunatic-type statement. The Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists, which was founded during Einstein's time, has a clock, a doomsday clock on the cover, which has moved only 10 times since 1945. During the years of détente, Kissinger and Nixon era, it was at 9 minutes to midnight. After Afghanistan, it was moved to 7. In January 1981, it was moved to 4 minutes to midnight, and the editors think they probably didn't move it far enough. George Kistiakowsky, who was Eisenhower's science advisor, who made the implosion mechanism for the first A-bomb, is an old man. He's 80. And he seriously doubts that we'll make it to the year 1990. And he's not alone. There are many famous, brilliant scientists and strategists who feel the same way. The Pentagon computers in this country have failed 151 times in the last year and a half. They keep seeing bombs coming from Russia. The most serious one was in November 1979 when someone plugged a War Games tape into the fail-safe computer, the Pentagon. The computer made a mistake and it detected weapons coming from Russia, so it put the whole world on nuclear alert for 6 minutes. 3 squadrons of planes took off towards Russia, armed with nuclear weapons. At the 7th, the president was to be officially notified, but they couldn't find him. And if it hadn't been stopped at that point, 14 minutes later, we would have been annihilated. Now, let me describe how a nuclear war could occur and what would be the medical consequences of such a situation. Now, once a button's pressed, the weapons and their missiles go out into space. The space race has been mainly about weapons. They re-enter the Earth's atmosphere at 20 times the speed of sound and then land accurately on target. Meanwhile, the satellite and the radar from the other side detects the attack and the button's pressed. So the weapons pass virtually in space and the whole thing's over within about half an hour. Half an hour. So you can't really talk about an aggressor in half an hour, can you? Or it's your fault. I mean, you don't even have time to think. I mean, all you can have time to do is press the button. A 20 megaton bomb would do this. I'm now quoting from the New England Journal of Medicine in 1962. It would gouge out a crater half a mile wide and 300 feet deep, so that everything in that volume would be converted to radioactive fallout, be pulverized, millions of tons of rock injected into the stratosphere and troposphere, where it would descend as radioactive fallout. Every person out to a radius of 6 miles from the epicenter would be vaporized, just turned into gas, and most buildings. Out to a radius of 20 miles from the center, most persons would be dead or lethally injured. And when I say lethally injured, I mean tens of thousands of cases of the most severe burns. A single burn takes about 3 to 6 months to treat, requiring hundreds of units of fresh frozen plasma and blood, 24-hour intensive care nursing, operations every couple of days for months, and then often the patients die. There are only 2,000 acute burn beds in the whole of the United States. There would be shocking injuries, you see, as people are sucked out of buildings and thrown against other buildings. Buildings disintegrate and concrete and steel are thrown around like matchsticks. Millions of shards of flying glass as windows disintegrate. People decapitated, organ injuries, ruptured lungs, compound fractures. That compound fracture means the bones sticking out of the skin, and so on. What was left of the buildings would be lying in what was left of the streets. If you looked at the blast or the flash from 40 miles away, just glanced at it, you'd be instantly blinded as the flash burnt the retina or the back of the eye. It would ignite everything that was inflammable within an area of 3,000 square miles, so everything would burn and the fires would coalesce, sucking the air in with hurricane-force winds to the center of the explosion. And if you made it to a fallout shelter in that 20 minutes to half an hour's time, you would not survive because you would be pressure cooked and or asphyxiated as the fires used up all the oxygen. In the Dresden firestorms, the people who made it to the shelters all died. They asphyxiated. Now, you should know that your Civil Defense Department says that every town and city in this country with a population of 25,000 people or more is so targeted. Not necessarily with a 20 megaton bomb, it may be smaller, but all these bombs do an enormous amount of damage, which means, in effect, that most population centers in this country will be gone. Also, apparently, the nuclear reactors are targeted. Inside each 1,000 megawatt nuclear reactor is as much radiation as that released by the explosion of 1,000 Hiroshima-sized bombs. If you should drop a 1 megaton bomb on such a reactor, according to the Scientific American last month, you would contaminate permanently an area the size of West Germany, and that would obviously aggravate the fallout problem. The oil refineries are targeted, the large industries, and all airports. Now, say you weren't in a targeted area and you were in a rural area that was untargeted, and you're not asleep, all right? You're not asleep, and you are actually listening to the radio or watching the television. Now, you often hear the radio, you hear this, ooh, we were just testing the emergency signal, don't you? You hear that? Well, this time I suppose they'd say, we're not testing, this is for real, the bombs are on their way, you have 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or whatever to reach the nearest fallout shelter. So you run very fast, I mean very fast. And you won't have time to collect your family with you or anyone you love, almost certainly, unless you're very lucky. Now, this is also described in the New England Journal of Medicine. When you get down there, you medically will not be able to re-emerge from that shelter for at least 2 weeks to 6 to 8 weeks, because the short-lived radioactive isotopes in the fallout are so intensely radioactive, you would die. And when you do come out, the world would be a different place, because civilizations past that we've inherited from our ancestors will be totally obliterated. All the architecture, the music, imagine the world without Handel and Beethoven and Brahms. The art, the literature, everything will be gone. And you see, in Hiroshima, there was an outside world to come and help. There'll be nobody. And further, there will be millions of corpses. A 20 megaton bomb on Boston in 1962 was estimated to have created 2.2 million corpses. And as the bodies rot and decay, the bacteria, which is a perfect breeding place for bacteria, multiply rapidly, and they mutate in the radioactive environment to become more lethal and virulent. And our white blood cells, which fight infection and protect us from infection, are depleted by the effects of radiation. So we will be susceptible to all the diseases we now medically control, like polio, typhoid, plague, dysentery, hundreds of them. So there'll be epidemics of diseases. It is thought that so much ozone will be destroyed by the release of nitrous oxides created by the explosions that the ultraviolet radiation coming in from the sun will produce third-degree sunburn within 15 to 30 minutes, which is lethal. And it would blind people. In other words, you would have to live underground for the next 5 to 10 years, or however long it takes for the ozone to reaccumulate. Of course, it will burn and parch all the crops. There'll be very few hospitals left, if any. Very few doctors left. And we estimate, we hold symposia on this subject, on the medical consequences of nuclear war. They are addressed by Howard Hyatt, the Dean of the Harvard School of Public Health, and others. And we estimate that within about 30 days after such an exchange, 90% of Americans would be dead. Canadians as well, the Russians as well, the Europeans, the British are all targeted like that, most of the Chinese. It is really unknown what will happen to the whole world. But consider this data. The National Academy of Sciences in 1975 estimated if both superpowers used only 10% of the arsenals of their hydrogen bombs, 10%, it could destroy 50 to 80% of the ozone layer in the northern hemisphere and 30 to 40% in the southern hemisphere. And some scientists think if only 20% of it is destroyed worldwide, it could blind every organism on the Earth. And people would die, the survivors would die of a synergistic combination of starvation, radiation sickness, epidemics of infection, sunburn, blindness, and grief. It would be the grief that would kill me. I would prefer to be dead, and it was Nikita Khrushchev who said, in fact, in the event of a nuclear war, the living will envy the dead. Now you can say, well, what can I do? There are two things I'm doing just to give you some ideas. You've got to work it out yourself. The Physicians for Social Responsibility was dormant 2 years ago. We're now educating our colleagues. We have 4,500 doctors, and the American Medical Association recently wrote to President Reagan because of our activities, asking him to meet with senior members of the American medical profession to discuss nuclear war. And remember that all the politicians are our patients, even the president. Now, I don't know if the people that treated him are members of Physicians for Social Responsibility, but they will be soon. The other thing I did was start the Women's Party for Survival, because as I talk a lot about this, very often it's the women who cry. Now, I'm not excluding all mothering men, but you know, women are very passionate. In fact, they often drive men crazy because they're so passionate and emotional. That's appropriate to be emotional. Often when I lay out the medical effects of nuclear war, the person interviewing me on television will say, aren't you being a bit emotional? You can understand that that's a crazy remark to make. It's like if I have two parents in my office and I tell them their child has leukemia and explain the prognosis and they show no emotional response, I get them a psychiatrist. It's appropriate to be passionate about our survival. And I thought, when I had my first baby, I knew I'd die to save that life, and I'd never felt like that about any other human life before. It was a profound revelation for me. If we can mobilize that instinct that women have to save their babies across the world, we may survive. So I started the Women's Party for Survival, and we're having a march on Mother's Day in Washington, wearing our Sunday best, Republican ladies, everybody, because this is a very conservative issue. The ultimate conservative issue. And bring lots of babies, and if you haven't got a baby, borrow one. And the next day on Monday, we're going to lobby our representatives on the Hill and put the baby on the table and say, Senator Jackson or Senator Helms, why aren't you representing the life of this baby? and the baby is our symbol. Now, to give you another crazy idea, there are lots of things you can do, you see. We thought of an action called Babies Against the Pentagon, and that abbreviates to BAP. What we do is, when the Senate is debating the arms race, we will release hundreds of naked toddlers into the Senate chamber. Lots of things you can do. You're next to the SAC Air Base here. Close it down. Don't take no for an answer. Don't take no for an answer. It must be done. It must be done. These weapons must be eradicated from the face of the planet bilaterally, multilaterally. Then people will say, what about the Russians? You can't trust the Russians. Remember that right through Vietnam and Cambodia, Russia and America negotiated SALT I. Quite a good treaty. The superpowers have signed 17 treaties on nuclear weapons. Neither side have ever violated them. Russia's signed SALT II. America hasn't. Why not? Why not? Because, say the senators, America wants to maintain its superiority. What does that mean? We're on a terminally ill planet, you know that. And we are about to destroy ourselves. And when a patient comes into the emergency room who's terminally ill, we don't say, well, that patient's terminally ill, take them straight to the mortuary. We put the patient in the intensive care unit, and we delicately balance the electrolytes, and we stabilize the cardiac function, and we eradicate the infecting organism, and occasionally the patient survives. And what I'm really saying to you is that if you love this planet, and I'm deeply in love with it, and you watch the spring come, and you watch the magnolias flower, and the wisteria come out, and you smell a rose, you will realize that you're going to have to change the priorities of your life if you love this planet.
Next up is We Is Sure Dedicated, Ice Cubes.
By herself on the highest shelf, slapped the widow's cell. Flashlights shook everywhere we looked, couldn't find our path. There's a body in this bed. This could be our friend. It's dawning. Lights are off and we better keep them on. As the darkness floods our abandoned hearts. Wake up, Sal, won't you wake up, Sal? It will be alright. Life is long, you can leave some other day when we're gray. Never mind what voices say. Keep the ice cubes in that tray. Without you there's less of us. Balance tilt and we are dust. Never mind what voices say. Keep the ice cubes in that tray. Without you there's less of us. Balance tilt and we are dust. Hide, drown your anger in a fight, in a glass of pills, body thrills, anything just to keep you in the scene. Be sick of cause, we'll be together ill. Never mind what voices say. Keep the ice cubes in the tray. Without you there's less of us. Balance tilt and we are dust. Never mind what voices say. Keep the ice cubes in the tray. Without you there's less of us. Balance tilt and we are dust. Never mind what voices say. Keep the ice cubes in that tray. Without you there's less of us. Balance tilt and we are dust.
Now playing Lost European, No Photographs.
coolest radio station in the world, Radio Ice, from Independent TV and Radio Scotland.
Track playing now. Johannes Skral, Hexxit Drave Symphony. Next we have Snowflake, Living Nightmare.
Words that you say poison the air. Oh, I'm wide awake, but you're my nightmare. Egocentric, narcissistic, and you won't go away. You're trumpeting hate and you don't play fair. With your arrogant ways and your comb over hair. No, you're a fake, not a billionaire. Oh no, no, I'm wide awake and you're a nightmare. Egocentric, narcissistic, and you won't go away. Lame is your game. How were your aim? No stranger to shame, 'cause they made you change your name. Won't take the bait in your golden snare. You're known to take more than the lion's share.
Now playing Fox Evil.
better be ready, ready to roll.
Track playing now. J.B. Skelton, you better be ready.
Honey, I'm leaving this town. I'm singing a road song and you can sing along. But oh, you better make up your mind. Today's the day I'm leaving. I'm through with it. empty dreaming. I'm shaking the dust from my shoes, I'm through the blues, I'm leaving this town behind. Honey, stop your crying, stop crying and take my hand. I ain't spending 30 years dying, like Papa trying, squeeze a living out of this life, this old land. Today's the day I'm leaving, I'm through with empty dreaming. I'm shaking the dust off my shoes, I'm through with the blues, I'm leaving this town behind. Too many dusty days, too many crops to raise. There ain't no reason to stay, there's gotta be a better way. I'll end up crazy, dead in prison. But baby, if you don't go, there's one thing I want you to know. After all that we've been through, you're a part of me, and baby, I'm a part of you. So what are we waiting for? Honey, climb in and close the door. Roll down the window, let down your hair. Wherever the wind blows, we'll be there. I'm singing a love song to the highway, and you're singing great harmony. Because the day's the day we're leaving, we're through with empty dreaming. We're shaking the dust off our shoes, we're shaking the dust off our shoes. We're through with the blues, we're through with the blues. We're leaving this town behind.
You're listening to Independent TV and Radio Scotland. Channel Radio ICE.
Next we have Tim Beek, Chiptune Dream. Next we have Daniel Kaur and Valerie Kaur, Sail.
You always told me life was short, I should never take advantage. Now I'm standing on the shore, trying to forget this. I knew that it could happen, I just didn't think so soon. And I know that you're not there, but I can't stop texting you. I need to live on, that's what you'd have me do. But it's so hard to continue without you. Oh, but I'll try living shared. That kind of happiness is rare. I always loved how much you cared. Listening from your chair. You never think you could lose someone till they're gone. I cast my last goodbye in a bottle. Give the scene my song. My whole life long. Oh, but I'll try. Living every day of my life. Never asking why I had to say goodbye. Oh, in this pain, nobody here is to blame. I just know you're in a better place, and I'll never forget your face. Living every day of my life. Why I had to say goodbye. In this pain, nobody here is to blame. I just know you're in a better place, and I'll never forget your face. Never asking why I had to say goodbye. Last goodbye in a bottle. Give and see my soul. My whole life long.
Playing now. Rudy Roger, bass. Now playing Lost European, We've Come a Long, Long Way.
You're listening to Independent TV and Radio Scotland, Channel Radio Ice.
Would you play me a classic song? Then leave.
Playing now. Michelle Channel, A Place to Rest.
Would you play me a classic song? Then let me be. Can I lay my head on your shoulder? I need to get some rest. Can I lay my head on your shoulder? I need a place to rest. Oh, to rest. Oh.
Now playing. Brielle Rathbun and Colin Jeffries tend to make me crazy.
I am just the heart inside my chest. Nothing more, nothing less than the rest. And I'm asking, what are you? If we're just empty bones trying to hold something that we never even owned, then tell me, what do I do? You tend to make me go crazy, and you tend to make me go crazy. Whoa, whoa. If we both every time we had to watch our beauty burn, you can't say that we're the same. And tell me that you'll find this love again. All we are, all we were, and who we've been. Oh baby, please change your mind. 'Cause you tend to make me
Pack your bags and leave this town. I don't wanna see you coming round. No,
playing now. Josh Woodward, Waiting Takes Time.
I don't wanna see you coming back, no, I don't wanna see your gloomy face again. Waiting takes more time than letting go. Sitting at a stop sign, wasting time when I'd rather be speeding on the 99. This relationship just won't shift out of neutral. Say that you'll be ready soon, but I've already heard that tune, and I don't think you're ready for a new role. Waiting takes more time than letting go. Waiting takes more time than letting go. Your car or hop a train, call a cab or fly a plane. I'm sick of waiting in this intersection. Waiting takes time and I ain't got my shirt all buttoned and my shoes all knotted, and I gotta start moving in some fake direction. Waiting takes more time than letting go. Waiting takes more time than letting go. Oh, wait, and get your foot off of my brakes and go. Oh, wait, and get your foot off of my brakes and go.
Track playing now. Lost European, Wallflower Heather.
coolest radio station in the world, Radio Ice, from Independent TV and Radio Scotland.
Next we have Cortez, Burn.
Waiting outside your house for an explanation, but I never got it. Commitment, the promises we made never existed. Oh, this is not a friendship, but we lived in this house that's not a home. 'Cause I picked up the pieces on my own, and you left me with memories all alone. Now our house is on fire and you don't even know. Burn down slowly, burn down slowly, burn down slowly, burn, bang down slowly. I'm a lightweight, and everything you do tends to affect me. But there's no longer two of us in this dream. Was I the one to blame? Did you even love me? 'Cause this love is smoking. But we lived in this house that's not a home, and I picked up our pieces on my own. And you hate that you left me all alone. Now the both of us are tired, but we don't let it show. Burn down slowly, burn down slowly, burn down slowly, burn down slowly. I hate what we've become, it's tearing us apart. Drifting under the sun, we're falling from the stars, yeah. Baby, I can't deny you're not the only one. 'Cause I burned this house with you to spare us all the heartache. Spare us all the heartache. 'Cause I burned this house with you to spare us all the heartache. You burned it. You lived in a house and was never around, so you burned it. I lived in this house but neglected my vows, now it's burning. We moved in this house and never thought about how we burn it. Now it's burning. I hate what we've become, it's tearing us apart. Drifting under the sun, we're falling from the stars, yeah. Baby, I can't deny you're not the only one. 'Cause I burned this house with you to spare us all the heartache. Spare us all the heartache. Spare us all the heartache. Yeah. 'Cause I burned this house with you to spare us all the heartache. Waiting outside your house for an explanation, I still never got it. Commitment, the promises we made never existed. Oh, this is not a friendship.
Next we have Redneck Surfers, Welcome to West Hell. Next we have Steve Blakely, the Junkie.
Once upon a time, I spent my last dime to get high. Shooting crack and speed and smoking all the weed I could buy. With drugs in my veins, that needle had no pain, and that's real. But now my life is crashing. As for stash, man, I done my last deal. 'Cause I'm telling you, there's nothing you can do, 'cause you're through. Yes, I'm telling you, there's nothing you can do, 'cause you're through. Once I had a wife and a home to share the life that I built. A job with steady pay, not like the day that my life is on tilt. No, I wasn't wealthy, but I was always healthy and strong. But now I'm always sick, and you claim that you can fix, but you're wrong. 'Cause I'm telling you, there's nothing you can do, 'cause you're through. Yes, I'm telling you, there's nothing you can do, 'cause you're through. You go to fancy bars and drive in shiny cars that look fine. Your office is a Learjet and your Rolex always keeps you on time. Well, I should hold some stock in that stuff that you bought and paid cash. But man, you're just a fraud, just like the wad that you're too quick to flash. And I'm telling you, there's nothing you can do, 'cause you're through. Yes, I'm telling you, there's nothing you can do, 'cause you're through. You said that I still owed you, but I told you that our last deal was done. I chalked it up to fate when you didn't keep our date with your gun. And then I read in the paper about a caper where some dealer got dead. And your dying just confirmed what I learned to quit while I'm ahead. And I'm telling you, there's nothing you can do, 'cause you're through. Yes, I'm telling you, there's nothing you can do, 'cause you're through. Yes, I'm telling you, there's nothing you can do, 'cause you're through. Dead sucker.
Track playing now. Sleazy Flowers, Price on Me.
Gotta handle my band, and I know my gun. I turn along.
You're listening to Independent TV and Radio Scotland. Channel Radio Ice.
Now playing Boulevard No Sense.
I need to know what you want from me, 'cause all you give me is promises. You gotta give me your mind, body, and soul, 'cause I ain't taking nothing less. Oh no. Yeah, as patient as I could be, but you took advantage and it makes no sense. All I ask is that you tell me if this is where you wanna be. I need to know if you wanna be with me. No time for playing games. Can't you see it's killing me? I don't think you're ready. I need to know if you wanna be with me. No time for playing games.
Now playing. Cutworms, Till Tomorrow Goes Away.
I'll get to feeling alright. My eyes get chained to you. I can't seem to make them do just what I want to anymore. If I close them now, I'll hit the floor. The next thing I know, the sunlight's breaking day. If I get the chance to breathe, I'll try to do it with ease. Or if too hard I inhale, I fear I'd lose the trail beneath the freshly scattered brush. Oh, it really don't matter all that much. I guess I'll just have to find another way. I'll lie awake in bed, going over the things I said. I'd say them all again if I thought you'd spend just one more night with me alone. Now I can't even get you on the phone. It's all just a ruse, like a trick some fool has played. Now the room is spinning round, can't seem to slow it down. If I'm taken by the night, tell my mind I did alright. I just couldn't stop all the time. I just kept standing there in line, waiting until tomorrow goes away. Just trying to kill some time and make it pay. I go up on the hill, down on my knees and pray that someday it will, when tomorrow goes
Next up is Bill Shostak, Greyhound.
The wooden bench, beat up bags, schedule on the wall. Take your place among the faces no one ever knows. You packed up all your worldly goods, took off for the road. There's a guy who's going to Texas, on the Greyhound. There's a woman from New Orleans, but her speech says further east. It's dark outside the window as she sits in the next seat. She's moving to Las Vegas, but she'll miss her grandkids so. She'll fly out there every month to their home on the coast. You're waiting for departure, you're late when you arrive. Can't even get a seatbelt on the Greyhound. After years of working on myself, I'm back here on this bus. I tell myself I've changed, but it's not them, it's us. When this feeling gets inside you, you find it tough to breathe. You're looking for a way out, you try so hard to leave. You're waiting for departure, you're late when you arrive. Can't even get a seatbelt on the Greyhound. Of life. On the Greyhound. Greyhound of life. On the Greyhound. Greyhound of
Now playing Michelle Channel, Insights and Turnpikes.
With my head on my hands, street lights and car brights leave paint on my eyes. It's a long ride. Every mile binds us tighter and tighter. Every mile takes us further from home. We've got emergency exits. They make our faces glow red. Insights and turnpikes collide in my mind. It's a long ride. Every mile binds us tighter and tighter. Every mile takes us further from home. Every mile binds us tighter and tighter. Every mile takes us further from home. Further from home. Drive right through the sunrise. Celebrate every state line. Point out the rest stops and quick marks we like. It's been a long ride. Every mile binds us tighter and tighter. Every mile takes us closer to home. Every mile binds us
gets tighter and tighter. Every mile takes us closer to home. And tighter. Closer to home. And tighter.
You're listening to Independent TV and Radio Scotland, Channel Radio Ice.
Playing now. Redneck Surfers, Any Song of Love.
From the same corner to the square, close to tight, corporate, too much makeup compromise, over to all that passers-by.
Track playing now. Morgan Grieve, Brand New Girlfriend.
I keep a second-hand cat. We all live together in a one-room run-down flat. I drive a Nash Rambler car. It never goes very far. I drink my pint of old granddad from an old green mason jar. But I got a brand new girlfriend. She's my brand new girl. And I'm sitting on top of the world, 'cause I got a brand new girl. She blows her money like a whirlwind. I got a brand new girlfriend. She drives a shiny new car. I wear shiny old slacks. She's got the fresh ideas. I spout threadbare, worn out facts. But she's my girlfriend. She's my brand new girl. And I'm sitting on top of the world, 'cause I got a brand new girl. She blows her money like a whirlwind. I got a brand new girlfriend. She say it's not about the money, it's all about my love. The friends say it just looks funny. What's the girl thinking? What's the girl thinking? What's the girl thinking of? She's my girlfriend. She's my brand new girl. And I'm sitting on top of the world, 'cause I got a brand new girl. She blows her money like a whirlwind. I got a brand new girlfriend. 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 I got a brand new girl. Brand new girlfriend. Got a brand new
Next up is Lost European Newspaper and Lace.
Lines on my face, yesterday's news. The headlines taught me, alone and confused. Your memory haunts me. I busted to choose. Now she'll never be returning anymore. Just this paper place on the floor.
Next up is Jeff Hurley, Something Going On.
Afraid to let your feelings show. I see the signs you really care, but I can't find you anywhere. So the game we play goes on and on. I hope you can see what you mean to me. Only you can make it better. I know there's gotta be something going on. I know you can see eventually we will have to get together. I know there's gotta be something going on. There's nothing you can do. I can see it in your eyes. It shouldn't come as a surprise. But I can see it in your face, and I can tell by your embrace. Still the game we play goes on and on. I hope you can see what you mean to me. Only you can make it better. I know there's gotta be something going on. I know you can see eventually we will have to get together. I know there's gotta be something going on.
The coolest radio station in the world, Radio Ice, from Independent TV and Radio Scotland.
Now playing Brianna Grace, Ghost Roads.
I remember when you said not to blame our God above. Oh, it's too late. Every person has a place, and a framed picture always breaks. Oh, it's too late. Can you see me walking alone down these ghost roads? Every step erasing your cold night from ever leaving your mouth, your heart. Can you feel me slipping away from our memories? 'Cause I liked when people saw me, and night saw right through me. Empty walls and empty rooms, back to life before you. Oh, I wonder if I'll be the same, 'cause all this chasing, saying I'm worth saving. No, it's too late. Can you hear me walking alone down these ghost roads? Every step erasing your cold eyes from ever seeing my soul, my heart.
Easy.
Track playing now. Cam.07 waiting.
Your body keep me waiting, but I'm losing all my patience. Sitting wishing that you won't step back or give up. Knowing that the trust don't come with this love.
Oh baby, can I see you tonight? I just wanna hold you, will this be alright? Hold you real close, real tight in the night, if the mood right, cause girl, that's that shit I like, yep. But if you're gonna keep playing, keep me chasing, shit is irritating. Look what you done, babe, so tired of waiting. Wish I never met you, forget we started dating. Now, all we got is old memories, back and forth with the games, fighting like enemies. I don't like your energies, they're full of insecurities. Sick of all the jealousy, think you need some therapy. Not what I wanted, not what I needed. All I did was love you and how you should be treated. You hurt me, desert me, girl, you're so thirsty. You're nothing but an animal, begging for mercy.
Tired of the lane switch. Told you I'm over the debating. Hey, said you know that it's wrong, so I bring you along till you turn around and go and do the same shit. Girl, your body keep me waiting, but I'm losing all my patience. Sitting wishing that you won't step back or give up, knowing that the trust don't come with this love.
I don't wait for no bitch. I don't wait for no bitch. Hey, yeah. I don't wait for no bitch. I don't wait for no bitch. Got girls tryna hit on my line. Think about a bitch, wouldn't waste my time. You really think I'ma stick around for you, girl? Well, you got it all wrong. Diamonds dancing on my neck, diamond dancing on my wrist. Bad bitch, thick as fuck, body frame so petite. Hey, yeah, ass fat, I got squeeze. Hey, yeah, Middle East and Lebanese. Yeah, I said, yo, bullshit, I don't need. Stop tryna play with me like Nintendo Wii. Hey, said, yo, bullshit, I don't need. Stop tryna play with me like Nintendo Wii.
Hey, told you I'm over the debating. Hey, said you know that it's wrong, so I bring you along till you turn around and go and do the same shit. Girl, your body keep me waiting, but I'm losing all my patience. Sitting wishing that you won't step back or give up, knowing that the trust don't come with this love. Tired of the lane switch. Told you I'm over the debating. Said you know that it's wrong, so I bring you along till you turn around and go and do the same shit. Girl, your body keep me waiting, but I'm losing all my patience. Still wishing that you won't step back or give up, knowing that the trust don't come with this love. Getting tired of the lane switch. Told you I'm over the debating. Said you know that it's wrong, so I bring you along till you turn around and go and do the same shit. Girl, your body keep me waiting, but I'm losing all my patience. Sitting wishing that you won't step back or give up, knowing that the trust don't come with this love. Getting tired of the lane switch. Told you I'm over the debating. Said you know that it's wrong, so I bring you along till you turn around and go and do the same shit. Girl, your body keep me waiting, but I'm losing all my patience. Sitting wishing that you won't step back or give up, knowing that the trust don't come with this love.
I look in your window and nobody's there. Last night you told me you'd be doing your hair.
Track playing now. Sairab Handake, you believed it yourself.
We should be honest about the feelings we share, but you tell another story, or you tell another lie. It is doing nothing for me. I don't know why you even try. I'm so very sorry. I hope you are fine. I worry about you getting sick all the time. So I have to wonder, just give me a clue, how you were out with friends while sick with the flu. And you tell another story, and you tell another lie. It is doing nothing for me. I don't know why you even try. I don't want to hear it, how your mother just died. This isn't the first time that you have outright lied. I know what you're saying, tell another story, or you tell another lie. It is doing nothing for me. I don't know why you even try. Oh, and you tell another story, and you tell another lie. I know you really abhor me. I don't know why you even try. But you tell another story, or you tell another lie. It is doing nothing for me. I don't know why you even try. Oh, and you tell another story, and you tell another lie. I know you really abhor me. I don't know why you even try.
Next up is Josh Woodward, Fight the Sea.
Riding driftwood on the foreign shores, spilling out into the ocean floor, in the memories all you've left without a trace. Paralyzed with the thoughts receding, current sweeps you with the silent bleeding through the heart into the darkest place. Well, turn around, there's nothing to see here. Run away, no reason to be here. It's the ghost who never goes away. Turn around and leave this behind now. You see the ground as it bleeds in the sky now. You fight the sea, you're always gonna drown. All the secrets that you're holding, all the memories you hide, all the frail thoughts that echo in the corners of your mind, they won't even last a moment. They will soon be swept away when the ocean takes you in its arms and carries you away. You carry all your burdens on the cross around your neck. You take whatever's left that you could salvage from the wreck, and the hard past will follow you like a lost dog on the beach, nipping at your trail till you've drifted out of reach. Yeah, turn around, there's nothing to see here. the ghost who never goes away. Turn around and leave us behind now. See the ground as it leads to the sky now. You fight the sea, you're always going to drown. In a broken line horizon, and the castles made of sand, you tried to hold it in your hands, you tried to understand it. The ocean asks the questions, and it holds the answers too. It dissolves away the lies about the things you thought you knew.
You're listening to Independent TV and Radio Scotland. Channel Radio Ice.
Next up is Lost European, Just a Miracle Apart.
Headlights flash, disappear again.
a spare, I've never been a model.
Playing now. Morgan Green, Not That Guy.
My eyes are blue, seeing them closed most all the time. If you're looking for someone who's tall, dark, and handsome, baby, I can tell you, I'm not that guy. I don't own a hammer, I've never learned the trade. Take a look around my house, there's nothing that I've made. And when I go out drinking, all I have is lemonade. So if you're looking for a guy to paint your bedroom the right shade, honey, I can tell you, I'm not that guy. I don't work on cars, I don't hang out in bars. Never hear me wishing I had spent the weekend fishing. Don't have a southern drawl, don't have a country twang. But if you're looking for some fun, then honey, I'm the one. I don't go out hunting, I've never owned a gun, never signed up for the army, never shot at anyone. I don't like to work out, never learned to fight. If you're looking for someone to defend and protect you, baby, I can tell you, I'm not that guy. Want someone to love you, I'm the one you need. I have a lot of patience, I always aim to please. I don't work on cars, I don't hang out in bars. Never hear me wishing I had spent the weekend fishing. Don't have a southern drawl, don't have a country twang. If you're looking for someone, honey, I'm the one. Oh yeah, I can play the piano too.
Next up is Redneck Surfers, Heartbeast.
Surf.